How much cap space is left for the Edmonton Oilers and what can they do with it? We will talk about that and much more on today's episode, Locked On Oilers.
You're Locked On Oilers, your daily podcast on the Edmonton Oilers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Oilers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host and former Oilers Game Day producer, Brett Holden. As mentioned on today's episode, with the deals the Oilers made yesterday, they still have a little bit of cap space. So how much do they have? What is workable for the Oilers? And who might be on their way out to bring in more players? We will talk about that in just a second, but also on today's episode, another team who's been tinkering around their squad quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. The Toronto Maple Leafs are in town for a big-time matchup. Connor McDavid versus Austin Matthews. This matchup is going to be massive. So we will preview that game a little later on, and we will wrap up with the ghost of Oilers past. And this one isn't too long ago and used to play with an Edmonton Oilers superstar. There is your hint for today. Thank you for making Locked On Oilers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you find your podcast. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. And where we are going to get started is with a little bit of the future for the Edmonton Oilers, as yesterday the Edmonton Oilers traded Jesse Puljujarvi to the Carolina Hurricanes for prospect Patrick Puistola. And then later on, 5 hours later, the Edmonton Oilers would send a 2022 first-round pick, Reed Schaefer, defenseman Tyson Barrie, a 2023 first-round pick, and a 2024 fourth-round pick. And now with those deals being completed, the Edmonton Oilers, with 21 players on their roster, they have a salary cap space of $450,000 with 21 players. If the Edmonton Oilers were to send down Devon Shore right now to the AHL, that is $850,000 off of the books. The Edmonton Oilers, with 20 players on their roster, would have a grand total of $1.3 million. Now, yesterday I did say it could get up to 1.5. I'm unsure how Puckpedia is able to get there, but right now with Devon Shore in the AHL, he's not right now, but if the Edmonton Oilers were to send Devon Shore to Bakersfield, the Edmonton Oilers would have $1.3 million. So, what does that mean? The first thing is that let's start to break down a little bit who else may be going out. Now, Bob Stauffer and Frank Saravalli have both said today that this is not going to be all for the Edmonton Oilers. Frank Saravalli even said there may be up to two other trades for the Edmonton Oilers, so we shall see what else comes down the pipeline. But either way, if the Edmonton Oilers are acquiring another player, more than likely another player is going to have to be shipped out, by the Edmonton Oilers. So, what are those options? The first option is Warren Foegele, who's been playing pretty well recently, has 3 goals in his last 3, actually, I believe 4 goals now in his last 4 games. That was a stat for a pregame, which he ended up scoring. But he sits at a $2.75 million cap hit, which would be, there we go, words are fun today, which would be a pretty nice offloading for the Edmonton Oilers, considering they already sit at a 1.3. Clearing up an extra $2.75 million in a trade would really open up a potential deal here. Speaking of opening up a potential deal, this kind of goes into a haphazard or a crazy idea that I might have, but Kyler Yamamoto currently sits with a $3.1 million contract. There's been a lot of talk on whether or not teams are interested in him. Heard Nashville was interested in him. We obviously see that they didn't take the pass on him as well. But with Kyler Yamamoto and that $3.1 million contract, pair that with the $1.3 million that the Edmonton Oilers already have, that's pretty close to the $4.6 million that Jakob Chychrun is already making. But we'll get to that a little later on. The third player and final player on the Edmonton Oilers roster that I think could be a little expendable for the Oilers, especially with the acquisition of Mattias Ekholm, is Cody Ceci. Cody Ceci sits at a $3.25 million cap hit. And right now, with the three players between Warren Foegele, Kyler Yamamoto, and Cody Ceci, all three of those players match up to a $9.1 million cap hit. I'm not saying you add all three players into a trade unless you're getting Erik Karlsson, and I'm not saying they are either, but that makes for a little more movement for the Edmonton Oilers. The fact that you can also bring in Mattias Ekholm makes Cody Ceci a little more accessible for other teams. Other potential trade pieces for the Oilers include the 2023 second and third round pick, the 2024 first and second round pick, and the 2025 first round pick as well. Now, for the Edmonton Oilers, some potential targets. As mentioned, Jakob Chychrun. I still think there is an off chance the Edmonton Oilers could get Jakob Chychrun. I think the price as we get closer to the deadline is going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And I think the Edmonton Oilers, especially with those pieces that we just mentioned, might be able to swing something here. They didn't send everything for Ekholm. I think that's an important thing to remember. Also, breaking news, just as we finish recording, I realize that I've already spoken about him right now, but Jakob Chychrun has been traded to the Ottawa Senators. This is fresh. It is breaking. 3 draft picks are heading Ottawa's way. This is as we're finishing recording right now, so disregard what I said about Chychrun earlier, but also take it with a grain of salt. But yes, Jakob Chychrun is now an Ottawa Senator. Take it easy, everybody. Next is Nick Bjugstad, also with the Arizona Coyotes. He only has a $900,000 cap hit, and he's UFA at the end of the year. A lot of love for Bjugstad so far over this trade deadline season, and the Edmonton Oilers have been connected to him for a little while. I think it was Darren Dreger last night when Nick Bjugstad was scratched for trade-related reasons. He then linked the Edmonton Oilers to Bjugstad, which made me think maybe the Oilers double dip with Chychrun. But that's just creative thinking. The next player, also on the Arizona Coyotes, Nick Schmaltz. Now, Schmaltz is actually getting a lot of love from a lot of teams. I believe it was Frank Saravalli that mentioned some NHL team officials are saying he's a sneaky good player, and it could be a very good addition. He's currently sitting at a $5.85 million deal up until 2027. So you do have term, but you also have a pretty big cap hit. So I think if the Edmonton Oilers were to trade for Schmaltz, it would have to be with some sort of retention. Obviously, with $9.1 million, potentially with Ceci, Yamamoto, and Foegele, there is some wiggle room. But are you willing to do that if that doesn't necessarily... Does that move make you better? I don't know. Just an option. 4 more quick targets here for the Oilers. One of them is maybe a fever dream as well, but I thought I'd mention it too. But the first, we'll start off with John Klingberg as well, currently making $7 million. Way too much for John Klingberg. That's going to be a deal that 100% has salary retention and probably is going to have a third team in it. But there was interest in Klingberg and the Edmonton Oilers in this offseason. And I think I said either on this show or just with that quick video right after the trade with Gill, I could see the Edmonton Oilers adding another offensive defenseman. I think if the Edmonton Oilers can do it for the right price, I could see them adding one more offensive defenseman, especially if that means Cody Ceci. Not saying that the Oilers want him off the books, but if the Edmonton Oilers can get Ceci to be the defenseman going the other way, not a Bouchard, not a Broberg, I think the Edmonton Oilers would be a little interested in that deal. 3 more players, they're all forwards. The first one being Max Domi. He's having a great season in Chicago, garnering a lot of interest, but there's also been rumors that he may be looking to extend his contract as well. So a price may be coming at a little bit of a premium for Domi, considering they want to potentially keep him. But I love Domi. I think he'd be a fantastic addition to the Edmonton Oilers, adding that just little bit of grit. He's not his dad. I know a lot of people, and I hate doing that to a player like him, but he can add a little bit of an edge with scoring skill. Will play in your middle six, probably even your top six with McDavid too. So that'd be a nice little addition for $3 million. I mean, you were paying that for Jesse Puljujarvi already. A straight swap for Yamamoto and Domi, would you do it? I don't know. I'm spitballing here. Last two, Adam Henrique, who's currently sitting on, he's injured, talking about whether or not he'll be on LTIR when he's traded. Then teams or the NHL sent a memo saying that they're going to monitor players who are on LTIR and all this and that. And they're talking about Henrique and Gustav Nyquist, excuse me. I like this deal. I think Henrique would be a fantastic add for the Edmonton Oilers, especially in the playoffs. But Henrique wouldn't be ready to go right away. He would have to wait. The Oilers would have to wait. However, if the Edmonton Oilers were able to pull that and he goes on to LTIR until playoffs, that adds another $5.825 million to the LTIR. Could be possible. The final name here for you, I just wanted to mention because I saw it suggested. I didn't see anybody say that there is talks or that this is even conceptually a thing. But how about Brock Besser? I know it's a big price, $6.65 million per year up until 2025. A lot of money there. If you can add 3.1 mil in Yamamoto, get the Canucks to retain in some sort, maybe toss in a CC2. I don't know. You got to get the money to work in some way, but I think he would be pretty good next to Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. So I think that would just more of just trying to take advantage of a bad situation. I think there's better fits for Besser as well, like a Minnesota or something like that. But you never know. So either way, right now, the Edmonton Oilers are sitting with a $450,000 cap space and potentially could get up to $1.3 million by the time the deadline comes on Friday. Alrighty, but before Friday, the Edmonton Oilers have a massive measuring stick game tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs have been fantastic in the trade market, and we're basically going to see some massive deals or massive trades that have happened out on the ice already. If that makes sense, either way, let's preview that matchup in just a second. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. No matter how the last game went, anytime you take the field, you've got a shot at greatness. Give your team the best shot at winning by recruiting more MVPs with Indeed. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. And Indeed is the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. Indeed helps star applicants to shine with over 135 assessment tests from cooking to coding. Indeed assessments take the stress out of the interview process. Your candidates don't need to prove themselves again, and you can dive deeper into talking about what's important to you. Indeed makes it easy to hire great talent, and according to ComScore, Indeed is the #1 job site worldwide. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. The offer is valid through March 31st. That is Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Now, you might be hard-pressed to tell these two teams playing at Rogers Place tonight, but the NHL trade deadline is on Friday, March 3rd, so join us live on the Locked On NHL YouTube channel from 12 to 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time as the Locked On NHL hosts break down the biggest deals from across the league. I will be there from 12 to 2. I can't wait. Deadline season, trade deadline day is like a national holiday in my household. I guess it wouldn't be a national holiday, but I will be there, so make sure you tune in because that is going to be so much fun. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alrighty, let's get into this big matchup for the Edmonton Oilers against the Toronto Maple Leafs as the brand new, basically, Maple Leafs come into town. Busy day for them yesterday. However, two of their acquisitions that they made yesterday will not suit up in Edmonton. Eric Gustafsson, former Edmonton Oiler draft pick, and Luke Schenn, former Toronto Maple Leaf, now current Toronto Maple Leaf, will not play tonight. They will meet the team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, in Calgary tomorrow, so we will talk about what their lineup looks like first, but you don't care about the Maple Leafs right now. You care about the Edmonton Oilers, and yes, Mattias Ekholm will be in the lineup for the Edmonton Oilers tonight. He's been doing all of his new team things, getting his headshot done, and getting his brand new locker room stall, I guess. He actually took over Tyson Barrie's old locker room stall, which makes sense, I guess, but he took over Barrie's locker room stall, which is right next to Philip Broberg. Interesting. I want to talk a little bit more about Ekholm in just a second, but let's get to the lineups, for tonight's game, as the Edmonton Oilers didn't have a formal practice today, so we will know more about lines once basically warm-up comes. But I think this is what the Oilers lineup will look like tonight. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins will line up on the left side of Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. Warren Fogle, I think, will get bumped up to that second line with Leon Draisaitl and Kyler Yamamoto. Klim Kostin alongside Ryan McLeod and Matthias Janmark on the third line. And Derek Ryan and Devin Shore will be the 10th and 11th forwards, as the Edmonton Oilers will go 11-7 tonight. Darnell Nurse will be with Cody Ceci. I think Mattias Ekholm is going to chalk in next to Evan Bouchard on the second pairing. I think there will be obviously some maneuvering considering the Oilers are going 11-7, but it'll be interesting to see who he lines up with for his first shift as an Edmonton Oiler. Philip Broberg on the third pairing alongside Brett Kulak and Vinny Desharnais makes up the seventh defenseman. It seems like Stuart Skinner is probably going to get the start tonight. Jack Campbell will not get the start against his former team, at least for right now. But things can change. These two teams do play again in the next couple of weeks as well, so we can see potentially Jack Campbell against his former team in Toronto. That's probably what they're waiting for. But let's go to the flip side. The Toronto Maple Leafs, the brand new Toronto Maple Leafs, are reportedly going to look like this. Michael Bunting is on the top line alongside Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. The second line, John Tavares. Great add in Ryan O'Reilly on the second line center, and William Nylander on that right side. Alex Kerfoot on the third line with David Kampf and Calle Yarncroke, and the fourth line includes Zach Aston Reese, new addition, and a guy that actually two guys that the Edmonton Oilers were looking at. Noel Acciari on as the center for the fourth line, and Sam Lafferty on the right side on that fourth line. That's going to be tough for Edmonton Oilers fans to see. But the defense looks like this for the Maple Leafs. I keep wanting to say Blue Jays. It's baseball season, baby. But the Maple Leafs look like this. Almost called him Ryan O'Reilly again. Morgan Riley on the top pairing with Justin Holl. Jake McCabe alongside TJ Brody, and Mark Giordano will play alongside Timothy Liljegren. I believe Ilya Samsonov will get the start tonight most likely, and Joseph Woll will get the start tomorrow in Calgary. Now, a couple of quick notes. As mentioned, Eric Gustafsson will not suit up for the Leafs tonight. Now, that means Morgan Riley will be the power play quarterback for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yes, that also means the Edmonton Oilers won't have their quarterback on their power play with Barrie being traded. But why is that important? Well, first of all, Gustafsson has been a fantastic quarterback. Well, he, especially in the absence of John Carlson with the Washington Capitals, he has stood his job well there. Very, very strong offensive defenseman. And again, Oilers draft pick. But why is that important? Well, the Edmonton Oilers, of course, have the best power play in the NHL, but the Toronto Maple Leafs have the fifth best power play in the NHL. They currently sit with a 25.3%. However, Jake McCabe will be in the lineup for the Maple Leafs in this one. And why is that important? Well, the Edmonton Oilers, we all know their penalty kill struggles with a 76.6%. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, not so much. They have an 81.5% penalty kill. The Edmonton Oilers are going to be in pretty heavy against the Maple Leafs when it comes to the special teams. Hopefully the Edmonton Oilers can win that battle. Now, we all know how good the Edmonton Oilers are at filling the net, but how good they are preventing the other team from filling their net. Well, without Mattias Ekholm, not very good. The Edmonton Oilers sit 20th when it comes to goals against per game. And on the flip side, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they sit 4th with a solid 2.62. We shall see how much Mattias Ekholm affects that number, and maybe we will see that application tonight. 6 o'clock puck drop at Rogers Place for the Oilers and the Maple Leafs, two teams that have been very active at the deadline, or deadline week, I guess. I believe it was Greg Wisniewski was on Jeff Merrick's show today, and he said the trade deadline used to be Christmas Day, but now this year it's been, the trade deadline has been Hanukkah, basically. You get it every day of the week, and that is exactly what we've gotten so far, and these two teams have been a very big part of it. I have a feeling these two teams aren't done yet. We shall see what they do by Friday, but could tonight influence what they do? We shall see. 6 o'clock puck drop at Rogers Place. Alrighty, let's wrap up today's episode with the ghost of Oilers past. And this ghost, yes, he used to play with Leon Draisaitl, but he didn't just play with Leon Draisaitl. He tore up Germany with Leon Draisaitl. Just how much did he tear up Germany with Leon Draisaitl? And I have a feeling you already know who I'm talking about. We will talk about him in just a second. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The midway point of the NBA is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. Now listen, I'm a basketball fan, I'm a Clippers fan, but the Clippers don't play tonight, so I couldn't give you any Clippers lines, but I can give you the worst team in Los Angeles' line. because LeBron may be out for a little while with his little foot injury. Ooh. And they play Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Depends how you want to say it. And as well, you can't forget about Lou Dort. Yes, the Montreal native. He is also on that OKC team. Hey, you can't forget about Josh Giddey. He's pretty cool too. But they are currently the favorites. The OKC Thunder are the favorites in this game against the Lakers. They currently have a money line of minus 164. They are the favorites in that one. And the Lakers plus 138. I'm surprised, to be honest, that it's not bigger. Either way, FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss out on your chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Alrighty, let's wrap up today's episode with the ghost of Oilers past. And as mentioned, this guy used to play with Leon Draisaitl, youth hockey with Leon Draisaitl. It wasn't that long ago that he was an Edmonton Oiler. However, him as an Oiler alongside Leon Draisaitl couldn't re-spark that magic they had back when they were playing U16 and U18 hockey in Germany, and that is Dominik Kahun. Yes, on November 1st, 2020, the Edmonton Oilers would go on to sign a childhood friend of Leon Draisaitl's, Dominik Kahun, to a 1-year, $900,000 contract. Now, I remember him in preseason that year, and he was pretty good. He had a pretty good start to his Edmonton Oilers career. However, it wouldn't stand. 48 games for Kahun as an Edmonton Oiler, 9 goals, 6 assists, 15 points for him in 2020-2021. He would then, at the end of the season, however, on September 6, 2021, would sign with SC Bern of the National League, the NL. No, not talking about the MLB. I'm talking about the Swiss League out in Switzerland. He signed a 3-year deal up until 2023-2024. We'll talk about how he's currently doing in just a second, but I want to talk about his numbers with Leon Draisaitl when they were kids. He played with Leon in U16 and 1 year in U18 before they went off to go play in North America. I'm going to read you off the numbers between these two players, okay? Playing with each other in 2009-2010 U16 hockey. Dominik Kahun, in 27 games, had 56 goals, 70 assists, 126 points. 126 points. That is insane. Draisaitl that same year, 26 games played, 48 goals, 55 assists, 103 points. Yes, Kahun outscored Draisaitl, but wait, it doesn't stop there. The following year, in 2010-2011, Kahun, in 30 games, 69 goals, 137 assists, good for 206 points. You thought that was impressive? Wait till you hear Leon Draisaitl's line. In 29 games, 97 goals, that's fitting, 95 assists, good for 192 points. Yes, that was, 16 points, 14 points less than Kahun. Still pretty impressive, but they went to the playoffs that year, and in 5 games, Kahun had 12 goals, 19 assists for 31 points, and in 5 games, Leon Draisaitl had 16 goals, 15 assists, and 31 points. That was their last year in U16. Then they go to U18, and it doesn't stop there. 36 games played, 21 goals, 36 assists, 57 points for Cahoon. And Leon Draisaitl, 35 games played, 21 goals, 35 assists, good for 56 points. Now you realize why Edmonton Oilers fans were pretty excited when the Oilers signed Cahoon and pretty disappointed when things didn't work out. Now for Cahoon, he is in Switzerland, still playing with SC Bern, and they have a couple of games left. I believe they only have 3 games left in their season, and right now, so far in 2023, in 21 games, 4 goals, 16 assists, 20 points. Last year in 42 games, 16 goals, 28 assists, 44 points. He had over a point per game last year, and in 63 games so far in Switzerland, 20 goals, 44 assists, 64 points. Dominic Cahoon, your ghost of Oilers past for this Wednesday. Alrighty, let's wrap up today's episode. Thank you for making Locked On Oilers your first listen today. Now for your second listen, before you go, make sure you head into Game to Game NHL. Every moment, every top performance, every result, Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NHL with local analysis, that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NHL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you find your podcast. Let's wrap it up there, folks. The Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs face off tonight at Rogers Place, 6 o'clock puck drop. Mattias Ekholm will make his Edmonton Oilers debut. That one is going to be fun. Hopefully at the end of it, we can all play La Bamba, baby.